So you planted your strawberries for the first year and they're starting to flower. The question is, should you leave the flowers on or pick them off? That's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. Let's go. So it seems like this time of year we get asked all the time, Luke, I just planted my strawberries and I've heard that it's very important to pick off my flowers. Should I be picking off my flowers? And the problem is that a lot of people, they fear that this is like a requirement to having the plants survive. You know, they fear that if they don't do it, their plants are going to die and they won't return the next year, or they won't fruit as good in following years. And so they think, I have to pick off my flowers. And there's so much concern around, should I pick them off or should I leave them, that a lot of people get stressed out and overcomplicate the issue. And so in this episode, I'm here just to kind of lay to rest a lot of those fears and worries, share what we do in our garden, like I always do, but then I'm also going to outline reasons to leave them on and reasons to pull them off. And basically whatever one agrees with you, that is what you can, trial in your garden. And that's what's really nice about a garden, is that there's no way to really fail at gardening. Gardening is so much about just experimentation and then finding out what works best for you. Behind me here, I have my first year strawberries. I've just planted these. These are actually the offspring of 4-year-old plants. So we planted strawberry plants about 4 years ago, and they grew and they produced runners. We cut all the runners back as much as we could, and we kind of let things go and go crazy. But after a while, the beds got really full. They got very clustered up, and we couldn't amend the soil as well as we wanted to. And so we were forced to pull all the plants up and basically start fresh, start from scratch. And that's what these plants are, is the first year of those plants that we started from runners, from 4-year-old plants. The amount of strawberries we've gotten over the years has been absolutely incredible. We've gotten, just last year, we got about 40 pounds of strawberries from these 2 beds right here. I got a bed right here just off camera, and I have another bed right here. They're a June-bearing variety. They're a mixture of Honeyoy, Ozark Beauty, or Honeyoy maybe? I don't exactly know how to pronounce it, but it's a great one. Ozark Beauty, and then I also have Chandler as well as All-Star. So I've got 4 different varieties kind of just mixed in here. It was kind of a grab bag that I just threw into the beds, and they do amazing. They do absolutely amazing. And so, our beds have done great. And you might be asking, did you pick off your strawberries the first year? No, I didn't. Simple as that. I didn't. And I'll tell you why. My idea is that, when you take care of the soil and you feed your plants what they're looking for, you keep the root system healthy, you keep the leaves healthy and disease-free, pest-free, there's very little stressors. And so any stress that was caused from fruit set, which is what we'll get into, any stress caused from fruit set is really mitigated by how well the soil is maintained, how well their growing conditions are maintained. I'm not letting these plants go bone dry. I'm not letting them get attacked by pests and powdery mildew, and I'm not letting them be nutrient deficient. And the soil quality, it's not like really hard clay and they're just struggling to survive. They're in the best quality growing conditions they could possibly be put in. And so there's really no stress. So the idea is that because there's no stress, I don't have to worry about some possible minor stresses from fruit set. So that's why I don't remove the flowers, and it's worked great for me. Now I want to talk about some reasons to do it and some reasons not to do it. As I've kind of alluded in my thought process, the reasons why you don't want to harvest, the reason why you don't want to pull off the flowers might be because you want to get a harvest. Right? So if you want to get a harvest and you pull off the flowers, those two don't really work. You have to have flowers in order to have fruit. And since strawberries will only typically fruit once and then they're done, unless of course you have some there's like an everbearing variety and whatnot, most strawberries will have one big flush of fruit early in the season, and then they're pretty much going to kind of fizzle out. So if you want fruit and you pick off the flowers, those two don't really work. So that's one reason. The other reason is the fact that a lot of people like to leave flowers on their strawberries because it attracts pollinators. You know, pollinators are attracted to flowers, and the more flowers you have, the more pollinators you can have in your garden. And so it's just an idea that, you know, if we're letting everything kind of flower, everything is going to be flowering. You have different flowers, and different flowers attract different pollinators, and that just overall makes a better environment. That's another reason why a lot of people don't like to pick off the flowers, because a butterfly won't come and pollinate a leaf. It's going to pollinate a flower. You know, a honeybee won't pollinate a leaf. It's going to pollinate a flower. And so if your goal is to create an oasis and a food source for those beneficial insects, flowers are their food source. And so a lot of people don't like to take away their food source. That's the second reason. And then the third reason why you don't want to take off flowers, you just don't have the time. A lot of people find that, I mean, yeah, it's very time consuming to come here and constantly baby these plants and pull off all the flowers, and you just might not have the time, and therefore you're like, I don't really see any ill effects. Why would I take the time to do it? I don't have the time as it is, or my time is very precious, so just don't. And those are the three reasons why most people just don't pull off the flowers, is because, I mean, if I came through here and picked off all the flowers, it would take ages, and I just don't have that type of time either. So yeah, those are the three reasons why people say don't pick them off, or why people don't pick off their flowers. Now the reasons why people do pick off their flowers. So a lot of people say that if you don't pick off your flowers, that the plants are going to be stressed. And this is absolutely true. Your plants certainly can stress themselves out by overfruiting. And that's because when the plants were first grown, if you get them bare root, as like a bare root plant, or if you get them as like a growing plant, both cases, those plants were grown from a dormant plant, a dormant runner that was grown from a mother plant. That root system is not really developed. It's very immature. And it's going to try to fruit as if it was still attached to the mother plant, still growing in ideal conditions. And what can happen is that, you know, that undeveloped root system can fruit itself basically to the point where it focuses more on fruiting than it does on growing. And the concern is, if that happens, that you could really set back the development, set back the future fruiting, as in like next year's fruit, and also really reduce how many roots and leaves that the plant can produce. So a lot of that just goes into say that fruiting equals stress, and stress is bad. So therefore, take off the fruit, reduce the stress. So that's one reason why people say to take off the fruit. Another reason why this can be done is because if you take off the fruit the first year, it's going to focus more energy into growing the plant, and a bigger plant equals even more fruit the second year. Now I got to be honest here that there is no evidence whatsoever that this is true. This is not something that's been studied. I couldn't find in any of my research any scholarly articles whatsoever done by any universities, any agricultural extensions ever about increased yields the second year from picking off the first year flowers. It's just a theory. So it might be true and it just hasn't been studied, but I don't base it off of maybe. I just really base it off of if my experiences show one thing, I trust my eyes, I trust what I see. And I've never really seen any negative side effects, but that's just a theory. If you believe it to be true and it sounds great, hey, more power to you. The third reason why people suggest to take off the flowers is because of the fact that that stress can actually kill, in some cases, the strawberry plants. Now, I have seen this in very rare cases, very rare, and that happens only when the root system is extremely underdeveloped. If the root system is extremely underdeveloped and it goes into a fruiting cycle, it can, in fact, kill the plant because the plant does not focus any energy whatsoever on the root system. And the only time I've ever found this to be true is with certain root stocks that basically are very, very underdeveloped. If you have an ample root system and you're taking care of the soil, I've never found a case in which my plants have just literally keeled over and died. Now, I have seen other people, other gardens, where you take a plant and it just basically puts out 20 flowers and it's not intended to. This happens more often than not on old plants, old mother plants that were very, very healthy and then uprooted and replanted. Typically, with first year plants, the first year, that plant knows it's not strong enough. It knows that the root system is not developed enough, so it won't even bother putting out 20 flowers. It might put out like 2 or 3 flowers. In older, more developed plants that have a very small root system, those plants are used to putting out 30, 40 flowers, And in those cases, it can happen if the grower that pulls up the plant doesn't realize that they're pulling up a mature plant, or maybe it just slipped through the cracks. It's a very, very mature plant and it puts out like 20 flowers. In that case, you can definitely lose your strawberry plants, but that's certainly an outlier and definitely not the norm. So yes, it can happen, but does it happen? Very, very rarely. So those are 3 reasons why you should pull them off and 3 reasons why you should leave them on. I'm gonna leave it up to you, and let me know in the comments box below, what do you do? Now again, I choose to leave them on because I don't have the time. I haven't found any negative repercussions for doing it in future years. And I also keep the soil very healthy so that any stress that does happen is mitigated and they stay pretty healthy and stress-free despite them flowering in their first year. So I kind of covered all three of the reasons why people take off the flowers, and that's why I leave them on. So, I mean, I tend to buck the status quo. That's what I'm known for. But hey, like I said, you do what works best for you. So let me know in the comments box below what you do. And let me know if, in your experience, the things that I've experienced are what you have experienced as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. As always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home. And we'll catch you all later. See you. Bye.